Hello, it is nice to have you here again. Let's check out our newest build guide for the Saboteur Ascendancy. The ball lightning of static creates a stationary orb that deals lightning damage in a large area around it. It is limited by a cooldown of 1.5 seconds, but can store up to 3 charges. It can deal a lot of damage, but cannot interact with popular support gems such as Spell Totem, Spell Echo, or Archmage. The Saboteur is a very good ascendancy for this skill. Thanks to the trigger bots, you will trigger 2 balls of lightning at once while consuming only 1 charge. You will also greatly benefit from the cooldown recovery rate and various bonuses against enemies affected by elemental ailments. The usual cast on crit setup is not very feasible here, as the cooldown is still too long. Instead, you can use the Poet's Pen to trigger ball lightning with your attacks. Since you will socket your main skill in the weapon, you can use the Squire Shield to support it with 3 more gems. The Poet's Pen is very lenient with its requirements. To trigger the socketed spell, you just have to perform any attack with your wand. You don't need to worry about your accuracy or critical strike chance. In this case, you will be using the Frenzy skill, which grants you frenzy charges to boost your damage and speed. The ball lightning of static has a fixed duration of 2 seconds, which can't be modified further. During its duration, each ball will hit your enemies 13 times. Since it can store up to 3 charges, every 1% of the cooldown recovery rate will improve your total DPS. Your main defense comes from powerful blind aura, high evasion and spell suppression chance, and the petrified blood that delays the damage you take from hits. Your fast movement speed and convenient playstyle of static ball lightning are also very safe. The build offers a very good clear speed. For the best results, you will need the explosions from the Impulsor's body armor. The damage against bosses is decent, but enemies may run out of your ball lightning range quite often. It is not an expensive build, but definitely not suited for a starter, as it requires specific unique items which prices may heavily fluctuate. Other than that, it uses basic defensive rare items. The Poet's Pen and the Squire are the core unique items of this build. The Impulsor's armor and ashes of the stars are not required for the build functionality, but are heavily recommended for smooth gameplay. With the Poet's Pen wand, you will trigger the socketed spell every time you perform any wand attack. Thanks to the Perfect Crime Notable, you will trigger 2 ball lightnings instead of 1. You can look for useful corruption, such as increased area of effect or elemental penetration. The support gems socketed in the Squire will apply to your main setup socketed in the Poet's Pen. It will double your damage, so you should get it as soon as possible. The Impulsor's Broken Heart will greatly improve your clear speed by exploding all shocked enemies, but the explosion itself cannot shock. It also grants you plenty of life, damage, and immunity to shock. The Ashes of the Stars is the best amulet to choose, as it greatly improves your cooldown recovery rate and increases all gem levels by 1. It can be quite expensive at first, but it is worth its price. The replica Dragon Fang's Flight is also a great amulet to use, as it boosts the gem level of your ball lightning by 3 and grants a bit of mana reservation efficiency. It usually offers more raw damage, but less utility compared to the previous option. The Mark of the Shaper is a powerful and cheap ring that will greatly improve your spell damage, but your other ring has to have relevant influence for it to work. You can boost the damage modifier further with imbued catalysts. The Call of the Void is a great defensive choice, as with this you will almost always inflict maximum chill on your enemies, slowing their action speed considerably. It also has the Shaper and Elder influence type, so you will get both bonuses from the Mark of the Shaper. This jewel adds extra bonuses to nearby notables, which you will pick anyway. You should look for one that grants extra bonuses to critical strikes, elemental damage, and flask sustain. You can use the dance with Death Keystone, which works very well with lightning spells, but you will lose a lot of survivability, so it is not really recommended. There are a lot of Watcher's Eye modifiers you could make use of in this setup. To boost your damage, you should look for bonuses for your Wrath and Zealotry, but you should also consider defensive modifiers for the Grace Aura. On your rare items, you will need a lot of maximum life, elemental resistance, and strength for the gem requirements. You will also need spell suppression, mana reservation efficiency, and a bit of energy shield. To scale your damage, you should aim for critical strike multiplier, lightning spell damage, and cooldown recovery rate. Aim for a helmet with high maximum life, spell suppression, mana reservation efficiency, and possibly an empty prefix to craft the physical damage mitigation via crafting bench. It can also grant you a lot of energy shield for your Eldritch Battery, but it will be impossible to get the spell suppression modifier. On your rare boots, you should aim for defensive bonuses, but it can also boost your offense indirectly. Look for high maximum life, spell suppression, and movement speed. To boost your damage, try to get a cooldown recovery rate and increase the effect of non-damaging ailments. Here you should try to get the usual life, suppression, and elemental resistances. At a higher budget, you can also include bonuses to boost your damage. Use Eldritch Influence to apply Unnerve and get Life Leech. Use Stygian Vice to get additional Abyss Jewel. On the belt itself, you should aim for maximum life, strength, flask modifiers, and lacking resistances. You can add a lot of cooldown recovery rate via crafting bench. Use the Abyss Jewel to add flat cold or fire damage to your spells, so you can easily benefit from the Explosive Expert Notable. It should also improve your maximum life or cover lacking resistances and attributes. If you use the mark of the Shaper Ring, your other rare ring should have the Elder Influence. You should look for bonuses to your life, resistances, attributes, and optionally critical strike multiplier or lightning damage, which you can get via essences. On the regular rare jewels, you should focus on the critical strike multiplier, maximum life, or get lacking resistances and attributes. Ball lightning can use many crit modifiers, but getting more than 2 at the same time can get expensive. You can improve your cold and physical damage mitigation with the Taste of Hate Flask. You should have good flask sustain, but using it to cap your cold resistances is quite risky. The Bottled Faith is a very good offensive flask that creates a consecrated ground upon usage and greatly improves your damage and critical strike chance against enemies standing on it. It is quite expensive, so you can replace it with a basic diamond flask at first. For your remaining magic flasks, we recommend a life flask with bleeding removal, quicksilver flask with critical strike chance bonus, and a jade flask with evasion rating bonus. The Ball Lightning of Static creates a stationary ball of lightning that hits 13 times over the duration of 2 seconds. Additional quality lowers its cooldown significantly. This spell has a rather limited amount of support gems you can use to boost its damage. The Hypothermia support requires you to chill enemies, but you should aim to do that anyway to get additional elemental penetration from the Saboteur's Ascendancy. The Frenzy is a wand attack that generates a frenzy charge on hit. It is used to trigger your Ball Lightning of Static socketed in the Poet's Pen. The Shield Charge is your main movement skill. It attacks with the shield, so it doesn't trigger the Poet's Pen, unfortunately. Both of those skills will greatly benefit from the increased attack speed. You can use the Culling Strike to kill tougher enemies quicker, or replace it with the Momentum support to be even faster. Grace is your main defensive aura. It grants you a lot of evasion rating and helps scale it further. Petrified Blood delays a big portion of the incoming damage to be taken over 4 seconds and locks your recovery up to a threshold. It also enables the Pain Attunement Keystone. Zealotry greatly improves your spell damage and critical strike chance. You can also use the Purity of Elements for an easier gearing process. Precision slightly improves your critical strike chance and enables the Watcher's Eye modifiers. Keep it at a low level to lower the mana reservation cost. Use the Enlighten support to lower the reservation cost of linked auras. You will also need some mana reservation efficiency on your helmet. Assassin's Mark is a curse that increases your critical strike chance and damage against marked enemies. It also generates power charges when you hit the marked enemy. You will automatically apply this mark when you hit the enemy with any of your attacks. You will have low accuracy, so it might take a few attacks to do so, but the mark will stay infinitely. Wrath is your second offensive aura. It improves your lightning damage with spells. Thanks to the Divine Blessing support and the Eldritch Battery Keystone, you can use this aura as a temporary buff and pay its cost with the energy shield. Frostblink is an instant blink skill that can be used without interrupting your other actions to quickly dodge incoming threat or move around faster. Steelskin creates a protective buff that absorbs part of the incoming damage and disables the bleeding effect. You can link it with the cast when damage taken. You should kill all the bandits in the second act of the campaign to get 2 bonus passive tree points. For your major Pantheon power, at first we recommend Soul of the Brine King. With better gear, you can switch to Soul of Arakali to get protection against damage over time effects. The Soul of Ralakesh will trivialize most bleeding effects. The Soul of Shikari is also good. It is helpful against chaos damage. You can equip the Poet's Pen very early. You won't be able to use Ball Lightning until level 28, but you can use any other spell to your liking and it will work just fine for the early campaign. You can also cast it manually, as without the Squire, damage can be a bit low. For more leveling tips, you can check out the written guide on the website. Your final passive tree is rather basic. You will pick up many useful notables that boost your life, critical strikes, and lightning damage. You will also get a lot of spell suppression, which is a very powerful defensive mechanic. You will need the Eldritch Battery Keystone to freely cast your spells using the energy shield. You should also pick up one small node that grants you an energy shield leech. Furthermore, you can take the energy shield Mastery, which greatly improves the energy shield you gain from your helmet. The Explosive Expert, notable from the Saboteur's Ascendancy, requires you to inflict all 3 elemental ailments to get maximum benefits. Fortunately, to inflict Ignite, you can deal any amount of fire damage with a critical strike. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. If you want to see more of our work, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day and see you next time.